All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, oldest questions out there, the problem of evil. But today, we're not just rehashing the old arguments. We're going to look at it from a completely different angle. This is the big one, right? The question at the very heart of the matter. For literally centuries, people have been trying to square this circle. If God is all good and all powerful and created everything, well, where does all the bad stuff come from, all the pain and suffering in the world? So, where do we even begin? Let's start by looking at one of the most popular traditional answers. And, well, let's see if it actually holds up when you poke at it. You've all heard this story, right? A perfect, beautiful angel created by God decides to use its free will to rebel. Boom, evil is born. It sounds pretty simple on the surface, but if you think about it for just a second, a huge question pops up. And there it is. That's the first big crack in this whole story. For that perfect angel to even think about rebelling, the idea, the potential for evil had to already be inside it. And since God created the angel from scratch, it means God must have put it there. And it gets even stickier. If God knows everything, past, present, and future, then he knew this angel was going to rebel before he even created it. So why go through with it? Why create a being that you know for a fact is going to unleash evil on the universe? This leads to a really uncomfortable conclusion, doesn't it? The source material we're looking at says this whole scenario paints a picture of a God who is, well, deceptive. It's like setting a trap, giving someone the freedom to walk into it, and then punishing them when they do. Okay, so that first theory seems to fall apart. So what's another common explanation people turn to? This next one is all about a massive, cosmic battle. This is the classic good versus evil story. You've got God on one side, representing all that is good, and the devil on the other, representing evil. And they're locked in this epic, eternal war for the fate of the cosmos. It's a really compelling story, for sure. But, once again, the logic starts to get a little shaky. The key word here is eternal conflict. If God is truly all-powerful, why is there a conflict at all? Shouldn't the fight have been over in, like, a nanosecond? The fact that it's an ongoing struggle suggests God isn't as powerful as we thought. Let's just break this down. The premise is that God has absolute power. The contradiction? He's locked in a never-ending fight with his own creation. See the problem? For this stalemate to exist, one of two things has to be true. Either God isn't actually all-powerful, or the devil is way more than just some rogue angel. Either way, the whole idea kind of breaks down. All right, let's look at the third and final traditional answer we're going to tackle. And honestly, this one takes a much darker and frankly more troubling turn. The idea here is that the game is rigged from the start. Before you're even born, your fate is sealed. Some souls are created to be saved and go to heaven, while others are just created for damnation, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. This just feels wrong, doesn't it? It creates this massive ethical problem. How can a God that is supposed to be infinitely good, just, and loving deliberately create beings with zero chance of redemption designed only for eternal suffering? It just doesn't compute. And our source material doesn't mince words on this point. It basically says, nope. Accepting predestination is just completely, supremely illogical. It would mean accepting a God who is neither good nor just. So, if these three big explanations all lead to dead ends and contradictions, what's left? Well, this is where our perspective takes a sharp turn and suggests something really radical. Maybe we've been defining evil all wrong from the very beginning. So get this. What if evil isn't some cosmic force or a punishment? What if it's simply an error, a mistake, something that happens out of ignorance, not malice? Think of it as a necessary, even unavoidable part of the learning process. It's kind of like watching a little kid learn how to walk. They're going to stumble, they're going to fall down, a lot. But we don't call those falls evil or a rebellion against walking, right? We understand it's just part of the process of learning. This view says our moral journey is exactly the same. The things we call sins are just the falls we take while we learn. Okay, but if evil is just an error, how does all that pain and suffering fit into the grand scheme of things? Well, that brings us to this really beautiful and powerful metaphor. I want you to picture your life as a giant, intricate mosaic. Every single thing you experience, every joy, every sorrow, every success, every mistake is a single tile. Now, if you stand super close and just look at one dark, cracked, ugly-looking tile, it's easy to think the whole thing is flawed. But every single tile, the good and the bad, is absolutely essential. It's only when you take a step back that you can see how they all work together to create a stunning, complete, and perfect masterpiece. So from this point of view, all those painful experiences, all the things we label as bad or evil, they aren't actually flaws in creation. They're just incomplete pieces. They're the dark tiles that we can't make sense of because we're standing too close. We just can't see the whole perfect picture yet. And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. We spend so much of our lives being ashamed of our mistakes, our failures, our errors. We wish we could just erase them. But what if those are the very tiles that give our personal mosaic its depth, its character, its beauty? What if our mistakes aren't just part of the picture, but are actually the most important, most defining pieces of all?